This is indeed a disturbing universe.
Hello, greetings, and welcome. Welcome to the Stereo 999 YouTube channel. I am your host, the artist formerly known as Stereo Steve, and I'm kicking it here in my dungeon with my good pal, Mr. Gopher. Say hi, Mr. Gopher.
Hi, Mr. Gopher.
This is the channel where I talk about records and music and other stuff, but mostly talk about records and music, and sometimes talk about other stuff.
So, Steve, are you going to check out Record Store Day this year?
Maybe, I don't know. What's the matter, Steve? Don't you want to see your money fly away like a butterfly? Well, not so much. I mean, last year I went kind of crazy. I saw a bunch of amazing stuff, and I picked it up. But this time around, when I was looking through the list, most of what I saw was reissues of stuff that I already have. So I'm thinking for this video, what I'm going to do is show you my old copies of some of the stuff that's going out in fancy new versions this time around, and we'll talk about that. So without any further ado, I'm going to just get right to it. This is the debut album by the B-52s. They put out a self-pressed single before this, but this was their major label debut on Warner Brothers. And when I was in high school, I saw them perform Rock Lobster on Saturday Night Live, and I thought it was pretty cool. And I picked up this album, and I really appreciate it. There's kind of a retro 60s aesthetic to their wacky music, especially on this album. I mean, you look at this old Ventures Mosrite guitar with a missing string and a walkie-talkie that they used for sound effects. And they were kind of pioneers of the lo-fi, and you can read all the lyrics and they're pretty bonkers. And here's the actual piece of plastic if you want to check it out there. But yeah, the first B-52s album, one of the greatest records of the 80s. And like most of the best records of the 80s, it was released in 1979. But I think the Record Store Day thing is a picture disc of this album. And picture discs, you know, sometimes they don't have the sound quality because it's literally a piece of cardboard with this picture sandwiched in the middle of some clear plastic, which is the record. Another one that's being reissued as a picture disc that's a classic from the 80s, The Head on the Door by The Cure. And this is a classic. This is a classic Cure album. It has In Between Days, Kyoto Song, Close to Me, and this is an OG copy on Elektra. This is not my same copy because back then what I had was a cassette. But whoever originally owned this scotch taped the hype sticker to the inner sleeve, which is something I probably would have done. Another reissue from the 80s, and this has been out of print for a while, and this is their best album, despite what anybody else tells you. This is Camper Van Beethoven's debut, Telephone Free Landslide Victory. And it shows their humor, their diversity of styles, and their musicianship. And it's on independent projects. The original first pressings were done letterpress onto cardboard, like the Savage Republic records. But this is the second pressing where it's a scan of the cardboard cover on glossy cardboard. But this is an essential album, and it's good to see this back in print. Great band from Santa Cruz. They used to come up to San Francisco all the time back then, and I've seen them more times than I could count. Nectar. Nectar, Nectar, Remember the Future. You think this might be prog rock? Just maybe. Some people call them krautrock, but I think they were actually English, but the band was based in Germany. The lyrics are in English, and on Passport Records, kind of Yes, kind of more straightforward than Yes, but most of their albums have a concept, and all the songs are just kind of connected into one long piece. And this is one of those albums, and this is one of the easiest to find of their better albums. And what else can I say about Nectar? George Jefferson was a big fan of Nectar.
Say? I said it's great music. What you turn it off for?
This original vinyl pressing from 1974 sounds great. And what I've read is that when they reissued it on CD, they remixed it, and that sounds like ass. But they remixed it again for the Record Store Day version. So, I don't know. I didn't hear it. I'm not going to buy it because I already have it. So let me know. Okay, this next one, it looks like there's a really fancy vinyl reissue. And I already have an original copy and a fancy CD reissue of this. And this is Metal Machine Music by Lou Reed. And this is the fancy CD reissue that came out in the 2000s. And back in the day, people were baffled by this record. Lester Bangs wrote endless volumes about it. And the thing is, it's not a rock record. It's an experimental harsh noise record. And harsh noise records weren't a thing yet in 1975, so people didn't know what to make of this, They thought it was a joke. Of course, John Cale, before the Velvet Underground, was playing with Lamont Young and all those avant-garde dudes, and he was doing noise music, so Lou was just kind of late to the party. But the drug-fueled liner notes and the sheer assault of feedback, it's just as relevant today, maybe even more relevant in these tumultuous times. And like I said, being in San Francisco, this is Knee Deep in the Hoopla by Starship, formerly Jefferson Starship, formerly Jefferson Airplane. And this has the song, We Built This City. We built this city on rock and roll. And that's why there's so much damage when there's an earthquake. It's not based on solid rock, But anyway, the Record Store Day thing is a picture disc single of We Built This City on rock and roll. And all I can say is, who knows what they're charging for it, because it's Record Store Day. But I got this record for $1, and nobody should have to pay more than $1 It's not the worst song ever made, but... Alright, getting into the jazz. Thelonious Monk, Live at the It Club, came out on vinyl, was out of print for a long time, and then the CD came out, which is 2 discs and the complete show on 2 discs. Thelonious Monk being, of course, the unconventional jazz piano master, one of the architects of bebop through his sheer dissonance. I'm guessing that the Record Store Day version is a reissue of the original record, but I already got this. I already got this CD. Ba-ba-da-ba. All right, let's keep moving right along. The Replacements, Tim. And back in the 80s, when the Replacements were from Minneapolis, they kind of started out as a punk band and got more kind of grungy indie rock as they matured. They were the drunken buffoons that were Rolling Stones to REM's Beatles. And suddenly the hype caught up with them and they got signed to a major label. And this album, Tim, is the result. And back in the 80s, when bands got signed to major labels, their sound got watered down a little bit to get played on the radio. But this is still a great album because the quality songwriting is still there, and just the spirit of the band is still there. And I know there's like a remixed version that was a little more hard hitting that came out, and I'm not sure what the deal is with this reissue, but this is worth getting. You know, this is kind of their peak. This is kind of the time when they got banned from Saturday Night Live, and made a video for MTV with just the camera pointed at a speaker that nothing happened. They tried to have it both ways, They got signed to the wall-to-wall money music biz and just sabotaged themselves, because that was the style at the time. Now for something completely different. Thievery Corporation, The Cosmic Game. Thievery Corporation, the electronic duo, shades of trip hop with a lot of reggae influence. Very much nice music to chill out to. But this album is from 2005, and they were famous enough that they were able to get some high-profile guests to do vocals on this, such as Wayne Coyne from the Flaming Lips, Perry Farrell from Jane's Addiction, David Byrne. And this is a nice record, And I'm guessing that the Record Store Day thing is a nice double vinyl package of this hour-long album. But for me, this is the kind of thing you just put on the CD and let it play in the background. And I already got it. Already got this record. Already got it now.
You're a demanding consumer, and you demand instant gratification. Your needs are our main concern. Let's be honest, as consumers, we all have needs and desires. Trouble is, we suppress them. Now, in nature, as in the business world, there are winners and there are losers. But does the predator pity the prey? I don't think so. It's not just unnatural, it's plain unhealthy. Nurture your desires, cultivate your desires, let them grow and flower into the blossom that is greed. You see, you are needed. Your greed provides this country with the fertile financial soil in which the roots of exploitation can spread, the limbs grow and flourish. This in turn furnishes you, the consumer, the standard of living you've come to expect, the products you buy, the programs you watch, the car you drive, your job. These are the things that define you as an individual. Without them, you have no identity, no purpose, no reason to exist. Greed, hatred, they're not just good ideas, they're the precepts this country was founded on. They're what keep you right where you are, and we'd like to keep it that way.
Oh yeah, that's just fine. Come on, boys. Just one more time.
Welcome to New Granada, where people come to escape city life. It has safe streets, clean air, good schools. It's a perfectly planned community, but something strange is happening. Something that wasn't part of the plan.
Seems to me like you all were in such a hopped-up hurry to get out of the city that you turn your kids into exactly what you're trying to get away from.
Something that could drive this town over the edge. They were old enough to know better, but too young to care. And now this town is over the edge.
Well, if you're a regular viewer of my videos, then you probably saw a video I did last year, part of the 999 Goes to the Movies series, where I talk about movie soundtrack albums. And I talked about this film, Over the Edge, from 1978, about bored teenagers in a planned community that revolt against the grown-ups. And, you know, if you're a fan of Dazed and Confused and you want to see the real deal, a movie that was made back then. But this is one of those movies where it was the soundtrack album that led me to the movie. Because the soundtrack album is just a solid collection of rock and roll. Look, Cheap Trick, The Cars, Van Halen, Hendrix, Ramones. I mean, come on. And this is my old copy from the cutout bin at Walgreens on Warner Brothers Records. But they reissued this for Record Store Day on blue vinyl. And if I didn't already have it, I'd probably get it. Alright, this next one is Cop Shoot Cop, Consumer Revolt. And Cop Shoot Cop was a noise rock band formed in New York City in 1987. I think they lasted about until the 90s. And I actually saw them live back then. They were pretty cool because they had an interesting lineup. They had two bass guitars, and the drummer had like pieces of metal that he also hit. And so it was kind of industrial, but kind of not. But they had, you know, distorted basses doing the guitar parts, and they had a pretty cool sound. And this is their first album, Consumer Revolt. And I guess their stuff's been out of print for a while. I mean, especially on vinyl, because I mean, I never found the vinyl back in the day. I got their stuff on CD. But this is their first album, and it looks like they're doing a nice vinyl reissue of it. But honestly, this is the one I listen to the least. I listen to their other two albums more than I listen to this one. Well, actually, I think they have more than this, but these are the ones I have, these first three. But Ask Questions Later has a really dark song called Everybody Loves You When You're Dead. And White Noise has a skit called Corporate Protopop that's like a commercial for a product called Greed. And yeah, so I got to listen to this one some more. And I'm glad that I already have it. All right. And this other one that's got a reissue coming out, one of my formative childhood records, the second Rolling Stones record that I ever owned, Out of Our Heads, the US version. And this is my old copy on the London Stereophonic. This is the same pressing I have. I don't think it's the same copy I had, but this is the album that has I Can't Get No Satisfaction and The Last Time and the Under Assistant West Coast Promo Man and I'm Alright live version. But this is a great record. You hear their R&B influences because they do some Motown. They cover Marvin Gaye's Hitchhike, Don Covey's Mercy Mercy, That's How Strong My Love Is, and Cry to Me. This is just a solid, essential early Stones record. Okay. This next one, Public Image Limited, first issue. And this was, of course, John Lydon from Sex Pistols formed the band Public Image Limited with Keith Levine and Jaw Wobble. Back in the day, it was not released in the US. You had to find an imported copy of it. But turns out that there was a planned American release, minus the controversial song Religion, and remixed. And that just sat on the shelf. They never ended up releasing that. Until now, there's a Record Store Day version of what the American version of this album would have been. That's kind of interesting. One of my favorite psychedelic revival Paisley Underground bands, Rain Parade. There's a reissue, I think a special edition, of their album Crashing Dream, which this is one back then I wasn't sure how I felt about it. Because again, this was indie band making their major label debut, and they sounded different. They sounded different. The guitars were clean and not as distorted. It just had that kind of 80s production. Still great songs. But for a while, this record was kind of forgotten in the Rain Parade canon. In fact, this copy I found in the record store filed under C for Crashing Dream, because whoever was working there didn't even look close enough to see that it was actually Rain Parade. But yeah, this record back in its day kind of fell through these cracks, didn't get enough love. So I'm glad to see that it's getting another chance.
Oh, show and tell, it's just a game I play when I want to show you some records. So like and subscribe, and you'll see them next time too. Oh, baby.
I guess that pretty much wraps up. Well, I got one more. This is an honorable mention because this is their second album, and what is coming out for RSD is their first album, which I don't have, which I might grab. But this band is called Eden's Children. Look, they're in an apple. And it's on ABC. It's called Sure Looks Real. And this is some late 60s psych rock. Nice guitars, good songs. Again, the stuff on the ABC label, Psychedelic did a nice video about ABC label releases. But It doesn't sound like typical psych. There's a lot of different light and shade on this. It's one of those records that kind of grows on you. And I don't know. I haven't heard their first album. I only have this one. So let me know. Let me know in the comments if you have any thoughts on the first Eden's Children album. And on that, I'm out. Thanks for watching. If you're new here, check out some of my other stuff. Leave a comment, say hi, and stop. 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 Peace.